Now, Sonny, what year were you born?
1936. And I was born here in Tennessee, New Mexico. I mean, in Hot Springs. Pardon me, Hot Springs.
And tell us about the hospital. Where was that hospital? Because you were born.
I don't know what hospital. I guess St. Anne's, you know, was where I was born. I'll assume that, you know. And no, I wasn't either. There was a hospital. Pardon, I'm sorry. There was a hospital down. It's right on where the courthouse is. That street where the red light is.
Yes.
To the west down there a little way. That was the hospital I was born. Dr. Leslie's hospital.
Yeah.
And in fact, that was still going. Leslie Huffman's little brother was born there in, say, 45. He was born in that hospital, I think. Well, you too, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
That's where I was born, yeah.
And I believe that's where Anderson Homes is now. That was the site where the first hospital was, there, where Anderson Homes is. That's on the corner of Date and
yeah. It's
Third.
just a little bit to the west, you know. The way I remember, right on the edge. Knows what you're saying.
So when
ask
you
me another question.
So I'm really interested in the roads. So when you were talking about they started paving just sections at a time, and then up into the late 50s or early 60s they finished paving all the way to San Lorenzo then.
Yeah, in the 60s, yeah. Because they did. I got out of the Army in 1960, and that is after that they're working on that road over to San Lorenzo, San Lorenzo. I don't know exactly on the road done. If it went up to Kingston, you know, it might have gone to Kingston, you know, during the late 50s. It might have gone that far to Kingston. I don't remember, tell the truth.
I just remember with going over the hill with my mother, we would go over on the freeze, and we'd come back on the freeze when it was so muddy, especially in the spring.
And what's interesting is the trailway truck line, you know.
Buses, the Continental buses.
No, this was it was I think it was freight trucks, I think, and Bartu was a driver for a long time, but they would come over that road, and all the time it was dirt road they went over, and then when they paved the road, they quit using that road. I don't know why. I guess it was just a coincidence. The contract ended. And another thing they did, and this is probably from the old days, before people had cars, not everybody had cars. You know, people understand that. People were out west in the rural area. People were driving wagons and riding horses, you know, pretty late, and then the Depression came along, and people, you know, couldn't buy cars. Not everybody had cars, you know. And of course, that in those days, in all the pictures, sort of that big heyday of the railroads, everything happened on the railroads, you know. And from Silver City to Hot Springs, there was a little bus went through every day on that dirt road every day. And
where did the road go? Because they didn't have that little bridge right outside of Hillsboro that crosses Percha Creek, I guess.
Yeah.
That big tall bridge.
Yeah.
Where did the road go before they put that in?
The tall bridge.
Yeah.
Well, they went right down the creek, and that's how they.
And about what year did they build that bridge going across there?
In the 30s, that's when they put the road, in the 30s, that's when they put the high bridge in.
They put the high bridge there. And was that a WPA project or a CC?
No, it's just that highway project. And there was a CC camp at Kingston, just below Kingston. And what the CCs did then, they put that road, I think it's 157, the North Perch Road or the North Perch Creek, where into the Bob Reed's homestead. And then you can see, you go on the ranches going down the lake valley, you can see the little rock barriers they put across the rollers to keep erosion down, you know. And they had a CC camp there just below Kingston. So the CCs were in there, you know. And of course, here at TRC, you see where all the sidewalks, you know, the WPA, you know, has their initials on them, you know. But there was a CC camp there. That's the road they worked on. And I imagine they meant to put that road clear into Hermosa, but then the war came along, they didn't get it finished.
When you talked earlier about your dad working on the high school, the Salcedo Stadium, which is now the tennis courts here next to the high school, can you tell us about, because I believe, tell us about that, building that football field, and also I believe that stone wall, the remnants of that wall was part of a CCC or WPA project, wasn't it?
I don't know, I imagine you're right, I would say you're right, but well, I imagine, you know, it probably didn't take them with a dozer and a blade, you know, to do that. Okay, I'll back up just a little bit. My dad first started working for the state. I don't think they had dozers. What they had a little cat, and then they had pull graders. They pulled the grader. You know John Garrison. You know, and John Garrison was working for the state, and so Dad would be running. Dad would be driving the pull grader, and John would be driving the little bulldozer. You know, John, he'd see a rough place and he'd just keep it going fast. He wouldn't slow down just to give Daddy a hard time, you know. But and then they'd go over that Harlosa Bridge. That was built by Arlo Grimm's daddy. I think Arlo Grimm's daddy. Now, I think so. I may be wrong. Maybe the Wilsons, kinfolks might have built that, but anyway, you know, they weren't supposed to go across that bridge. Of course, the machines weren't all that big. They went across it.
And what bridge was that you're talking about?
It's down toward Lake Valley, Harlosa Bridge.
Oh, Harlosa.
Yeah. Okay. And now they got a new bridge in there now. I worked on that bridge there, and the new bridge. But there were pull graders, and they were. My dad said that, you know, what the guy was pulling the pull grader had to kind of watch to see what was going on, because what had happened, the guy had fallen off the pull grader, and the guy pulling him wasn't watching, and he got killed, drug him to death. And so that's one thing you had to be careful with. He was just sitting up there pulling there. He had to kind of watch what was going on, you know.